Hello, Ralph Davella back. So this is like I guess the seventh episode or seventh lesson in a special series I did on playing the double high C or above double high C range. So it's not the last thing I'll ever talk about in high notes, but for this special series of lessons, this is the final one, sort of a conclusion of the first 6 lessons that we did. So let's sort of just go over a little bit what we did for the first 6 lessons, and then we'll continue from there. In lesson number 1, it was just introductory. So talked a little bit about what we were going to do. So let's just start with lesson number 2 on the playing above double high C. So in lesson number 2, the main thing we talked about was breathing. Now I'll talk a little bit about it, but I'm not going to go over the whole thing. What you can do is any lesson that you want to go over, just go to the special series on playing above double high C, and you could just go over the whole lesson. But in lesson number 2, we talked about breathing. The main thing I talked about breathing was finding that hammer point around the belly button or a little bit below the belly button, and making your stomach hard, and how you breathe in, and how you exhale the air. And your shoulders, what you do with your shoulders, bring them up a little bit, back a little bit, trump it up, get the air into your lungs. So I didn't make a real big deal about it because breathing is a natural thing, but you do need a solid core. You do need to get that compression. So that's what we talked about in lesson number 2. And like I say, go back if you want and look at all lesson number 2. Okay, so that's lesson number 2. In lesson number 3, we talked about the tongue level. There's all different thoughts about this, and almost everything we talk about here, different great players have different views on how you do things. But so I talked about the tongue level and how you place your tongue, and putting the tip of your tongue behind your bottom, the tip of your bottom teeth, and using the syllable E as we go above the E on the staff. We go above that. We're going to use E, double E, T, and get the back of the tongue raised up a little bit, the center of the tongue raised up a little bit. I talked about not getting it raised up so much that you're cutting the air off. So again, you go back, and if you want to look at more about the tongue level and what I think about it, you look at lesson number 3. All right, move on to lesson number 4. So basically, what the lesson number 4 was about was getting the grip. When you put this thing on, you'll feel if it's wrong, you'll feel if it feels good, and when it feels good, you're basically getting a good grip. Now, a good grip, what does that involve? That involves forming your embouchure, placing your tongue where we talked about in lesson 3. Getting a slight pucker. You don't want to stretch your lips out. You never want to smile. You get a slight pucker. Get some resistance in the center of your lips. You get some resistance in the corner of your lips, making it a little firm. Not crazy tight, but a little firm. You can feel it. You can feel it bounce back. You can feel this bounce back. Get your tongue level right as you're going up high. Your tongue will come up in that E position where it arcs, and you get that nice fat tongue. And also another important thing about getting that grip is your bottom lip. You look at any of the great high note players, and you'll see their bottom lip thickens. Now the trumpet is trying to flatten it out, but you have to resist that by thickening the bottom lip. And the way you do that, well, has a whole lesson on how you do that. But the bottom lip is coming over the bottom of your tongue a little bit, and that bottom of your tongue is supporting that bottom lip to keep it thick. So you can have a thick tongue, thick bottom lip, and all these things together, and plus breathing right, getting the core right. It all has to do with getting that good feel. They got that good grip when you're playing. When you're playing up there and you're going above a high C to the D to the E to the F, Eventually you lose that grip. When you lose that grip, that's when everything cuts off. So the higher you can keep that grip, the longer you'll be able to play, the higher you'll be able to play. In lesson number 5, the basic of that lesson was the opening of the teeth and the shape of the lips. Now the opening of the teeth, I believe, needs to be between a 1/2 inch and 5/8 of an inch open. A lot of great players will tell you that. Everybody has a different opinion. Some people will tell you something different. But Jimmy Maxwell, great trumpet player, played the theme in the Godfather Waltz. That was him on that trumpet, along with a lot of other things that he played. But he'll tell you the teeth need to be open for a variety of reasons. One is when you're playing up in that upper register and your lip comes up a little bit, maybe under that top lip a little bit. It needs a place to go. If your teeth are closed, they're not going to work. So you need to have that your teeth open a little bit. I say 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch will do it. Also, that helps lets you keep your lips vibrating as you're blowing air through. Which once they stop vibrating, everything cuts off. And the other thing I talked about in this lesson was the shape of the lips. So you're not purposely trying to move your lips all around to find a note, but if you're conscious of it and you're thinking about when you start playing different notes, especially if you're playing slow from one note to the other, you'll feel your lips actually move a little bit. So each note actually has its own shape to it, the shape of the lips to it. So now you don't want to start moving your lips all over the place. I always talk about one setting and play as much as you can with one setting. But you need to be aware that different notes do have different shapes to the lips. So when you start playing and you go from one note to another, you'll feel the shape of the lips turn. The shape of the lips change. So you're going from high C down to G, or from the G above the line up to the high C, or the high C up to the high G above that. You'll feel the shape of the lips. So it's good to be aware that the shape of the lips do change, and sort of let it happen and sort of feel where it goes. As we talked about in that lesson, and that was lesson 5. Then we did one more lesson number 6, and on lesson number 6 we talked about the position of the teeth related to the angle of the horn. So ideally, everybody talks about or likes to have your teeth even, bottom and top teeth even, horn nice and straight. But in reality, that all changes a little bit when we're playing. So that's what we talked about in lesson 6 is the relationship to your teeth and the angle of the horn. Another thing I want to say about that is that you play up a lot of times. This is true with almost everybody. Say you can make it to a high C, you can't go any further. Or you make it to a high F, you can't go any further. Or any note that it might be. If something doesn't change a little bit, you'll probably always get stuck on that note, now and maybe forever. Even though you practice a lot and you do get your muscles stronger and you do get yourself coordinated more up there. But if you're getting stuck on a certain note all the time, time after time after time, something needs to change a little bit. So again, I'm not a big advocate on saying change crazy, go big changes. But again, you're up there, and let's just say you're playing a high F above high C, and you can't get to the G. So think of maybe your bottom jaw, your teeth. Maybe it could recede, but usually that's not what works. Usually it comes out a little bit, either even or out a little tiny bit, and then the angle of the horn. You may be playing straight or up or down or blowing up or blowing down. But for most players, not all players, some players the angle will go up even higher. But you got to try to see what gets you past that breaking point, whatever note that breaking point is. You bring your jaw out just a tiny bit. And for me, usually, if I bring the angle of the horn down just a little bit, but generally that's a natural thing. But it's good to be aware, because sometimes maybe you're not doing it. I mean, the angle of the horn sometimes doesn't just up and down, it's left and right also. So you have to feel, be aware of the angle of the horn. It could be just an eighth of an inch or 1/16th of an inch. But sometimes that gets you to past that breaking point. So that's what I talked about in lesson 6. So this being lesson 7, we're just going out when putting it all together. Putting it all together is not easy, because sometimes you're thinking about breathing, sometimes you're thinking about your tongue level, sometimes you're thinking about the angle of the horn, whatever you're thinking about. So sometimes you're concentrating on one and you're forgetting about the other one, and you're forgetting about whatever. So you have to put it all together, and don't forget we need to practice all this stuff. So a lot of times it's better to practice slowly and try to feel when everything comes together. That's when you really get that grip, and that grip is so important. So you're thinking about your breathing, and which comes naturally, of course, but try to get to that past that high point. We're breathing a certain way. You go back to the breathing lessons and you'll see, and you're thinking about the syllable and your tongue level and the thickness of your lips and the shape of your lips and everything. So you're trying to put all these lessons together. So another thing I would like to say is that as far as everything I told you, you go back and look at great players and players that tell you how to do things. One player might do something quite a bit different than another player and be just as successful at it as the other player. So there's more than one way of doing things. You sort of got to pick what you think is right for you. And another thing I didn't really talk about in any of these lessons was the mouthpiece and the trumpet. So probably the reason I didn't talk about these things, well, the reason I didn't talk about these things is you need to get all these basics down, not worrying about a trumpet, not worrying about changing mouthpieces every 2 seconds. So once you get these basics down, you can do this on any mouthpiece, on any trumpet, and sometimes one or the other will help you a little bit, but it's a matter of playing correctly. In conclusion, on this series of playing double high C and above double high C, around that range, there's a lot of different ways of trying to get up to that point. You have to practice. Like I say, there's more things you can think about, a lot more things, so you can get them from other people, or think about it, how many different things can you think about at one time. So you have to see what works for you. So that's basically it on my playing up in that range. I mean, I will have a lot more lessons about how to build your armature and build the strength in your muscles. But for this special series, this was the last lesson, and I hope you got something out of it. And I want you to know that anybody that listens to any lesson that I do, I'm happy to hear from them, and hopefully that you're actually better than I am, or you can surpass the things that I have accomplished. And anybody that plays better than me doing this, I'm happy about that. I have no reason to try to think that I'm the best or want to be better than everybody else. I actually want the people who watch what I do to be better than me. So sincerely, I put these lessons out there, lessons I learned from Cormac Caruso, Jimmy Maxwell, some other teachers. And I just hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you in some future lessons. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you watching.